is Douglas Young with the NGV Services. I'd like to introduce to you our vinyl repair system. So the old system we had was one way, the new system is pretty high tech. And in a moment, we're going to go over the kit and the demonstrations of what we have, the variations of cuts. There will be another video that will show seat covers, the way they fit, the way our foams fit. We've started selling those and it's been tremendous. So we'll get over that in just a moment. Thank you. Okay, what we have here is our vinyl repair system. It comes in a case like this. It has the wheels and a handle to actually extend it, open it, and you can actually pull it around the parking lot to do your repairs with. Yeah, your vinyl repair system comes with several cans of paint, depending on what size kit that you get. Your chemicals, we'll have our liquid vinyl, which is clear. When you heat this up, it turns clear. Been making that for a long time. This is the gray compound. Okay. These are our textured pads that we do our imprint on the vinyl with. We'll show you that throughout the demonstration. It leaves the graining pad on the vinyl. When you touch it like so, it'll leave that. You have a pack of those that come in the kit. We have a wide variety of colors. That will have blue, maroon, gray, black, any color that comes on your bus seats, even the old green and the brown, we have that as well. But you'll have your paints that come in the kit. You'll have your containers of vinyl. You've got scissors to work with. This is your gray mesh. Now we use the gray mesh on the bottom of the bottom of the seats for the cushions because it actually stretches. The white mesh, we use this on the back because it's like a paper thin. It doesn't stretch like the gray does, but it gives you a smooth look when you do a repair over it. And throughout the demonstration, we'll show you how this works as well. Like I said, you have your paints, your graining pads, your mesh, both meshes, scissors. It has an audio tape, CD within the kit itself. These are upholstery pins. We'll show you how they work throughout the kit as well. The torch is what we use. Now, you can use electric heat gun. The torch gets about 1800 degrees. The little electric heat gun will get 650 to 850 degrees. Your seat covers are now fire block, so they'll take a tremendous amount of heat. That's why I like using this, because it's pretty effective on working with a newer vinyl. But it's an option. Some schools prefer the electric heat guns. Now, your electric heat gun, keep in mind, it will take a little longer on repairs than what this heat, because you're instant 1800 degrees. The electric heat gun, you're having to wait for it to warm up, and it takes just a little while for the repairs when you're using that. But it's either or that will come in the kit, whatever your preference is. So in a moment, we'll do a demonstration and show you how all the items in the kit work. What I'm going to do, this is the gray Vinyl Flex. It's the same resonance in the seat. Now remember me talking about the flexibility of the putty knife. This is where it comes into play. You're going to smear it over your foam. Keep your container close by where you can put any sediment back on there. Okay, so we've got this on the foam as well as the surrounding area. And you always want to put a little bit around the area, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut a piece of mesh that will cover this. And this is the fire block mesh I was telling you about. So what I'm going to do is cut a piece of mesh, and you stick it right over where the hole is. As you can tell, the chemical will actually hold it in place. And then we're going to go ahead and put our heat on it, okay? So with the torch, you put it right on it. Now you see how it sort of turns a brownish color? That's good. Barely touch it with your graining pad, and this will go ahead and grab it to the vinyl because it's hot right now. And then you work your way around your pad. Now you notice it's got this brown all the way around it now. This is good intact. So now we can put our second layer. It's always good to put about 3 to 4 layers on each patch because you make it stronger each time you do that. So We'll get some more of our compound. We'll put it over, like that. And you want to turn that knife at about a 45-degree angle and just barely smooth it over, so that you won't have any high spots when you're heating your patch. So again, this is my second layer. As you can tell, the fire will heat up like that, but it goes right off. So this is our second layer that we added to it, and we're going to go ahead and put heat to that. If you'll notice, as I add heat, it turns more of a clearish color. Okay, what you have to do is, if you put your texture in, you have to put it in a little bit at a time, like a 2-inch area, because it'll lose its heat. So if you watch this, I'll heat this one area and touch this and just hold my textured pad on it, and it will leave that grain. You can see it better when we paint it. And then we'll do this section, about a 2-inch section behind it, and keep working back toward the front of the patch. So we've got our texture in that way. Now, while the patch is hot, we were talking about the paint being a high heat paint. While the patch is hot, you can go ahead and paint it with this paint, and it'll bake right in. You'll notice it's still smoking. That means this paint's baking into that patch. That's the beauty of this paint versus other paints. It's made for heat. So that patch is basically done. Now this seat's a little faded because it's like a 7 or 8 year old bus, and the paint's pre-mixed to a brand new color. So the paint may be a shade off. You can usually back the paint further away and it gives you a lighter look. But this patch is done and it's ready to go on the route. Okay, what I've done here is I'm going to do a bunch of pencil holes on these pencil holes. You don't really have to use your mesh because your foam is not exposed. So what we do with that is just take some of the compound, and you want to put it on the pencil holes like this. And then you put your heat on. Usually pencil holes, just one layer is sufficient. Okay. Touch it with your texture pad. And there again, you'd paint it. Always hold the paint off about 14 inches to give you that feathered look. So that's what you do about that. In a moment, we're going to show you how some of the graffiti works when the kids write on the seats. We'll be back in a moment for that. Here we have graffiti where the kids are marked on the seats. The reason it's hard to get magic marker or anything else off of a seat is because in time the sun bakes in your markings and it goes within the seat cover itself. Vinyl is laminated in several layers, up to 7 to 9 layers. So when a magic marker is written on a seat, it actually soaks in. So you can spray paint over this, but sometimes it'll bleed right back through because it's buried within the seat itself. So what I do is I heat up these markings with my torch, and then I spray it when it's hot. What that does is bring the magic marker to the surface, and it allows you to cover the markings with much more efficiency than wasting a bunch of paint. So what I'll do is I'll heat it up. See how it smokes a little bit? And while that patch area or while that marking is hot is when you want to spray it. Okay, same thing right here. You want to do a small section because if I tried to do a whole big area, it would cool down by the time I got back to it. So you want to do a small area just like you're patching so that you maintain that heat. So while it's hot, I'm going to spray my paint, and that's what you do about graffiti. See how it's still smoking? So you bake the paint and you brought the magic marker to the surface by heating it up, and then you spray paint while it was hot and it baked it in. So you did a double effectiveness as far as covering up that graffiti. So we've had a cut place, we've had the pencil markings, and we've had graffiti. Cover that graffiti a little better. Now I'm going to do one with a busted seam. We'll be right back in a moment to show you a busted seam. Okay, here we have a busted seam, and a lot of times there's a lot of reasons why you could have a child pulling at one of the seams to do it, and it causes it to gape up and they pull on it. Sometimes cotton thread will dry rot and it'll allow your seams to come undone. In any event, it's possible to put this back together, whether it's on a cushion or a back. Normally what I do, if I don't see the foam, this is kind of overlapped, I'll go ahead and heat this up and tack it right back to the pre-existing surface, and then I can do my repair over this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is blow my heat on that like so. Just put a little heat on it, and that's done. So we're going to go back and put some compound on it. Just like that. And then we put our heat on it. Just like that. And that patch is done. In a moment, we'll come back and show a cotton spot, how they'll peel the vinyl away. It's just got cotton showing. Okay, here we have a spot where they've actually peeled the vinyl away, and it'll leave a white cotton spot. Certain buses are worse than others about them getting the cotton spots. The vinyl becomes kind of dry rotted. But there's a way to fix that as well. So what we're going to do, get some of our chemical, and we're going to go over this patch. We don't have to use our mesh because there's no foam showing. We've actually got a base to work with. So a thin layer on like that and heat it up. You can still see the outlay of the cotton spot. And we're going to go ahead and do the second layer. Now I'm turning this knife at about a 45-degree angle to keep it smooth. And that's pretty smooth there. So we'll use our textured pad when we get through heating this up. You always want to get your surrounding areas where your overspread is, because it has to be baked in as well. I always start around it and then work my way in. That way I know I've covered these edges. And the fire that you see is just the heat coming off the patch. Again, your seat cover's fire blocked, so it's not going to catch on fire or anything. But I'm going to put on a textured pad in it. You can see it better when we paint it. When we paint the patch, all these little textured grains will come out. They'll be more visible. So, again, you hold your paint about 14 inches away. And that's what you do about that. Here we have the tape, and you're going to have sediment, especially if this tape's been on there for years. You're going to have sediment from this gooey, sticky tape backing that's been there for years. What I have found, the best thing to cut that with and take it off with is acrylic lacquer thinner or just regular lacquer thinner. It dries real quick. It's a good cleaner. You don't want to use anything that's explosive. I've seen people try to clean it with gas. Bad idea. Soaks in the vinyl. You're working with a torch that way. This as soon as you put this on, it evaporates. So this is what you want to use to clean your seats with. So when you've got a tape place like this, you pull it off. And that's your cut place. But let's just imagine that we have sediment all around here. Old glue, if you will. And let's say the old glue is all down the patch, like this. What you want to do is, before you put any kind of chemical on it at all, this is when you want to clean this. So it's always good to keep this in your kit, some kind of old rag or paper towels. But you get your acrylic lacquer thinner, and you want to clean this area real well. And sometimes you may have to scrub on it to get all the glue off. Sit there and just work all around it. And there again, it evaporates as soon as it hits the air. So you've cleaned that glue. It takes you several applications. You see that, just how dirty that seat was. So just imagine if it had the sediment on it for years. This tape had only been on a short while. But if it had been on a long period of time, it even becomes more gunky, if you will. So this is a good way to get it off. And then once you have it extremely clean, then you can make your repair. If we were trying to make a repair over the gooey stuff, that torch is actually going to make it more gooey, and it's never going to really stick that well. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our vinyl over this. And there again, you want to put over your foam and everything. Just like that. And this is where we use this white mesh. I cut a spot just a little bigger. And that will stick right over the top of that. So it acts as a band-aid, if you will. So we'll heat it, touch that spot. And you never want to really touch it that fast and push in. And because when the patch is hot, it'll end up stretching the vinyl. You just barely want to touch it. In a moment, we'll come back and we'll put some more layers on that. So this is our patch. This is where we pulled the tape off, and we had cleaned the area, and I went ahead and put the mesh on and heated it up. So this is my second layer of compound we're putting on. And there again, I'm smoothing. I'm turning my knife at a 45-degree angle, smoothing like that. So we've got a smooth repair we're working with. And you can see how quick the heat is on the electric or the propane gun versus the electric. So we're going to touch it with that graining pad. It's going to leave that texture in it. Heat up the center section, hold it. It's going to leave that graining pad there, and then the top section. Like I said, it's always good to do those in sections. Take your paint 14 inches away, spray it while the patch is hot, and that way it bakes your paint in. You can still see the smoke coming off of it. Okay. There will be some seat covers that are so torn up they're not worth repairing, because if you're going to spend too much chemical and too much time on it, just put a seat cover on it, because sometimes seat covers are dry rotted. Sometimes the cut's just so big. You'll waste too much chemical versus the price of a seat cover. So in a moment, we're going to get on an international bus, and I'll show you one of our unique seat covers that we have that makes life real simple because the way the Velcro is designed. And we also have other seat covers. I'm going to show you the way the tail's designed that make life easy. Because you got to remember, when these buses, when they're fabricating the seats, they come down an assembly line. Okay? Once they come down that assembly line, they may add a plate to the bottom. They may put different type of screws on that plate that make it hard to get to. They're working on these seats at eye level when they're putting the framework together and all and what have you. So, but once it's bolted in the bus, that item that was once eye level is now way down here on the ground where you're trying to put the seat cover in. We've designed tails to bypass these plates and Velcro, so you're not having to lay up underneath these seats to unscrew these torque screws and what have you, take this plate off, just to be able to staple the thing. So we've designed these seat covers, and in a moment we'll come back and show you how a particular international works, how a Bluebird works, how all these different variations of body styles work to make life easy.